Hey everyone, Mike here. Welcome back to Animal Prime, that cozy corner of YouTube where curious minds and kindred spirits gather to admire the greatest stories that nature still whispers. If you're new, pull up a chair or let the kids curl up next to you on the couch. Because tonight we're embarking on a globe-trotting adventure through every wild dog that still pads, trots, or sings across our planet. Yes, every single one. From the kaleidoscopic hunters of the African savanna to a shy little crooner hidden in the mist-draped mountains of New Guinea. Which of them can sprint faster than an Olympic sprinter for the length of a city block? Which one smells like fresh popcorn when it marks its territory? And why on earth would a canine want to smell like movie night? Stick around, because by the time the credits roll, you'll be able to name each of these remarkable canids, picture their faces, and maybe even pick a favorite to champion in the comment section. Ready? Let's lace up our boots and start where the sun rises red and the grasslands ripple like liquid bronze. We find our first protagonist at dawn on the Serengeti, ears as round as radar dishes and a coat spattered in caramel, coal, and cream, an abstract painting on four lean legs. People call them African wild dogs, painted wolves, Cape hunting dogs. Science calls them Lycaon pictus, the painted wolf, and the name suits them better than any brushstroke could. Picture a pack of 20, sometimes 30, moving as one, each animal barely 70 pounds, yet somehow able to run 40 miles an hour for distances that would humble a marathoner. Those ears, they serve as personal cooling towers and long-range walkie-talkies, catching the whistles and chirps that guide the hunt. Statistics rarely feel poetic, but hear this. A coordinated charge by African wild dogs ends in success up to 90% of the time, making them the most efficient large hunters on land. Lions possess brawn, hyenas a bone-crushing bite, but the painted wolf owns teamwork the way a symphony owns sound. They greet each morning with tail-wagging rituals, individuals scattering affection like confetti. They care for injured packmates, even regurgitate food for the babysitters that guard the den while the hunters are away. Numbers fade and myth steps forward. Some local stories insist that if you keep the tail of a painted dog near your hearth, harmony settles upon the household. I can't vouch for the superstition, but spend 5 minutes watching them cooperate and you'll understand why ancient villagers saw them as guardians of unity. A gentle breeze slides through the tall grass, bringing with it whispers of rust-colored coats and an entirely different dialect of canine chatter. Follow me east, past the swaying palm roofs of coastal villages, to the teak forests and bamboo thickets of India and Southeast Asia, where a smaller, ember-hued hunter materializes, the Dhole. Kuan alpinus never walks alone. They trot in groups of 8 or 12, weaving between tree trunks with a grace more feline than dog. Listen carefully and you'll hear their uncanny whistle, half bird call, half flute, echoing through the undergrowth. At a svelte 45 pounds, they look too light for serious trouble, yet a coordinated Dhole assault can topple a sambar deer 3 times their weight. Imagine leaping rivers in a single bound. Field records clock them, clearing 20-foot spans without breaking stride. In folklore, they were once forest spirits that guided lost travelers home. Today, their real-world plight is grimmer. Habitat shrinking, disease spilling over from village dogs. Still, in a few protected reserves, they thrive. And when evening paints the canopy amber, you can watch them shoulder to shoulder at the water's edge, drinking in unison, each tail held high like a pennant of survival. Before we leave Asia, pause and smell the crackling campfire. Some say the Dhole's fur carries a faint smoky aroma, nature's own camouflage against a world forever perfumed by wood smoke. But an even higher stage calls, and our next act begins at 12,000 feet above sea level, where Ethiopia's Cerrado Plateau kisses the clouds. Feel that thin, crisp air? That's where the Ethiopian wolf rules, lanky and ember-backed, with a face so fox-like locals nickname it the red jackal. Officially, it's Canis simensis, and it is Earth's rarest canid. Fewer than 600 remain. Watching one stalk giant mole rat tunnels is like watching a violinist fine-tune each note. Ears pivot, nose quivers, a single pounce, and dinner's served. Despite their scarcity, Ethiopian wolves live in tight-knit family groups, each dominated by an alpha pair whose duet may last for a decade. Pups tumble between heather bushes while adults keep wary eyes on lammergeiers overhead. When dusk rolls down the mountain, their high-pitched yips bounce off basalt outcrops, carrying a message to neighboring packs. This turf, this fragile slice of alpine heaven, is spoken for. Conservationists play tapes of those calls through hidden speakers, convincing rival wolves to keep a respectful distance and lowering the chance of a skirmish. Science fiction? No, just a creative twist in the ongoing human-canid collaboration. Listen, something rustles in the plateau grass, but our story refuses to stall. Instead, it flows southwest across the Atlantic, drifting over rainforest canopies lit by moonlight where strange stilts roam. Imagine a fox on stilts, legs so long you'd swear they were borrowed from a deer, a russet coat blazing against emerald grasslands. That is the maned wolf Chrysostion brachyurus, a South American original so unique it stands alone in its genus. At twilight, it glides through Brazil's Cerrado like a lantern on legs, each step careful, ears swiveling to catch the rustle of a rodent or the plop of a fruit called the wolf apple. Yes, it is happily omnivorous. Measure those legs, nearly 18 inches from paw to elbow, allowing the animal to peer over tall savanna grasses as though operating on built-in stilts. Its gait looks almost like a slow-motion trot, elegant, unhurried. And the smell? Here's the popcorn secret. Its musk carries a buttery, slightly sweet scent that field researchers swear reminds them of a movie theater lobby. Why such a scent? One hypothesis is that it lingers longer in airy grasslands, advertising territory to rivals and potential mates in a medium that drifts on the wind. The maned wolf's love life is as cinematic as its profile. Pairs may share overlapping ranges while seldom traveling side by side. Yet every breeding season they come together under a full Cerrado moon, raise a litter in a den dug into termite mounds, then resume their gentlemanly distance. But danger lurks. Conversion of wild grassland into soy fields threatens to squeeze this gentle giant into ever smaller oases. Conservation groups now partner with local farmers, planting rows of fruit trees along fence lines. Each wolf apple harvested by the canid is one more reason for rodents to avoid a cornfield, and so an ancient predator becomes a modern pest controller. If the Cerrado is a sea of grass, the Amazon is an ocean of leaves, and in that green labyrinth swims the bush dog, Speothos venaticus, a squat, web-footed diver half the size of a beagle. Picture a pup-like face capped with chocolate fur, eyes shining like coffee beans. And you'd never guess this little aquatic sprinter tackles prey as big as capybaras. Packs of 10 slip into the flooded forest, paddling silently before erupting onto a riverbank in coordinated ambush. Their feet are partially webbed, their legs short but powerful. Rumor among local fishermen insists a family of bush dogs can outswim a piranha. Sprinkle in a bit of legend. Some Amazon tribes believe these dogs escort the souls of drowned men safely to the spirit world, guiding them along hidden waterways no human map records. Continue west and roll up into the cloud forests of the Andes, where a shadow flits across moss-draped boughs. The short-eared dog, Atelocynus microtus. Rarely does daylight find him. Our knowledge comes from camera traps and the soft mud tracks left along riverbanks. He weighs no more than 15 pounds, yet sports a pelt the color of rain-soaked charcoal and eyes as pale as tarnished pewter. His diet is a connoisseur's menu: frogs, insects, fallen fruit, and, when he's feeling bold, an armadillo. The short-eared dog is proof that evolution operates with the subtlety of a watercolor wash. Ears minimized to avoid snagging vines, paws cushioned for silent steps on leaf litter. Scientists once went 4 decades without a confirmed sighting. Imagine devoting your career to an animal you might never see in the flesh. Still, the forest keeps giving up its mysteries. Each new photograph reminds us that some stories whisper rather than roar. The tempo quickens as we sail south to Patagonia, land of endless wind. Here roams Darwin's fox, Lycaon fulvipes, a name earned when young Charles collected a specimen on Chiloé Island during his voyage on the Beagle. Only 600 survive on the mainland, and twice that on the island, making this 10-pound fox one of the scarcest canids alive. Yet the spirit inside those amber eyes could fill a stadium. When night falls, Darwin's fox darts along tide pools, snapping up crustaceans with the dexterity of a raccoon. Locals say if you meet one on a foggy path and look into its eyes without blinking, you'll dream of the sea for 7 nights. Folklore aside, recent genetic studies revealed these foxes split from their mainland cousins long before the last glacial maximum, marooned by shifting ice and rising tides. A living time capsule cloaked in ash-gray fur. From the roaring pampas winds, we leap across the Pacific to a land where canid music echoes between limestone peaks. Follow that haunting chorus. Mountains rise out of tropical mist in New Guinea, their slopes blanketed by moss forests alive with cicadas and tree kangaroos. Somewhere in that emerald labyrinth stands a dog so elusive that for decades some scientists believed it had vanished. The New Guinea Singing Dog, Canis halstromi. Class it how you will, wild dog, feral dingo cousin, living relic. Its voice wraps around vowels and trills unlike any other mammal. High-pitched, wavering, almost avian, their song can slide through 12 separate notes in a single breath. Locals tell of nights when the ridgelines hum like bamboo flutes. They claim these singers lure forest spirits into gentle dreams. Small, about 25 pounds, and low-slung, they navigate karst caves and cliff faces with cat-like confidence. Their joints flex enough to let them splay their forelegs sideways like a reptile, an adaptation perfect for scrambling on wet basalt. But to understand the singer, we must meet its mainland cousin, Australia's dingo, Canis dingo. Step onto a red dust track beneath the Southern Cross. The stars here feel bigger, brighter, as though the universe found its own IMAX upgrade. The dingo's silhouette stands at the crest of a dune, ochre coat dusted in moonlight, head raised, voice sliding into a long, wavering howl that can carry 6 miles. They arrived down under at least 4,000 years ago, likely ferried by seafaring traders, and promptly rewrote the landscape's ecological script. Dingoes regulate kangaroo populations, suppress feral cats, and in some inland ranges, they act as guardians of bilbies and bandicoots. Yet controversy swirls. Some ranchers campaign for fences spanning half the continent. Others partner with researchers to fit brightly colored collars on dingoes, signaling to shooters that this individual is part of a study, not a target. Whatever side you take, remember, under that golden coat beats the original rhythm of canine domestication, a living bridge linking wolves to our couch-loving Labradors. Cross the Tasman and we meet another wide-ranging wanderer, the coyote, Canis latrans. If resilience were an Olympic sport, coyotes would medal every year. When Europeans cleared eastern forests, coyotes strolled east. When wolves vanished, coyotes moved north. 600,000 square miles of new territory conquered in the last century alone. Adults weigh 35 pounds on average, a Goldilocks size perfect for rabbit dinners or scavenged fruit. Their yip howl, often mistaken for a dozen voices, is usually just 2 or 3 individuals riffing off one another in improvisational jazz. Urban legends claim coyotes surf subway trains beneath Chicago. In truth, they do stroll down alleys at midnight, scanning dumpsters with the calm assurance of streetwise teenagers. Researchers fitted bow GPS collars and discovered city coyotes cross 8-lane highways by waiting, sometimes half an hour, for the right surge in traffic patterns. Patience has a pulse, and its name is Coyote. North of the 49th parallel, we encounter their bigger, frost-kissed cousin, the gray wolf, Canis lupus. A single paw print the size of an espresso saucer punctuates fresh snow. Crystalline air seems to ring with expectation. There is majesty here, but also arithmetical wonder. A 55-pound female can trot 30 miles without fatigue, lungs exchanging oxygen almost twice as efficiently as ours. Yellowstone's reintroduced wolves taught us what missing chords return when an apex predator reclaims its seat. Elk move more, willow thickets rebound, beavers dam again, birdsong diversifies, an ecosystem tuning itself back to harmonic balance. Tales told by Ojibwe elders describe wolves as brothers walking the earth alongside humans, their fates forever braided. Today that prophecy feels palpable as wolf populations teeter on a delicate line between admiration, fear, and political debate. But even the mighty gray has cousins you may never have heard named aloud: the Arabian wolf, the Indian wolf, the enigmatic Italian population weaving through centuries-old olive groves. We'll touch them lightly, for our story must keep flowing. Feel the cold soften? We drift toward grasslands tinged gold at sunset, where another slender silhouette rises. The Ethiopian highlands taught us fragility. Now the Sahel grants us adaptability in stripes of silver and soot. Picture the black-backed jackal, Lupulella mesomelis, its saddle of ink splashed across copper flanks. At barely 22 pounds, this jackal is the opportunist's opportunist. One afternoon, it might trail a cheetah, hoping to snatch scraps. By dusk, it's pouncing on dung beetles that somersault across dusty flats. Pairs sing to each other at twilight, a yodel that corkscrews into the sky. Farmers brand them thieves. Ecologists hail them as scavengers supreme, tidying carrion before disease can bloom. Sibling rivalry runs low. Mature offspring sometimes linger as helpers, guarding younger pups the way a favorite uncle might watch nieces and nephews on weekends. Travel a bit farther north and meet the side-striped jackal, Lupulella adusta, draped in a subtler palette. Instead of bold black saddles, imagine pastel gray fur streaked with white accents down the flanks, as though someone tucked a delicate ribbon into its coat. They inhabit moist woodlands rather than arid veld, and their diet reads like a picnic menu. Berries, insects, frogs, yes, even the occasional solitary wild piglet. Where blackbacks are brazen, side stripes prefer caution. They rarely raid livestock, and some villages allow them to roam unmolested, relying on their taste for rodents to protect granaries. Spin the globe once more, and we land amidst Russia's birch forests, where the raccoon dog, Nycteruti proscionoides, waddles through twilight. Technically a canid, it looks more like a giant plush toy, face bandied in black and cream. Unlike any other wild dog, raccoon dogs hibernate lightly. Heart rate slows, metabolism dips, yet they can still shuffle out on warm midwinter days. Monogamous pairs share snug dens, raising pups no bigger than teacups that emerge in spring like fuzzy wind-up toys. In Japanese folklore, the tanuki, a raccoon dog spirit, transforms into teapots, monks, or beautiful women, playing harmless pranks on wanderers. Science remains undecided on the teapot metamorphosis, but it does record family groups chirping like birds when greeting after foraging trips, affection in stereo. Deserts await, and with them, the swift fox, Vulpes velux, whose sand-colored coat and oversized ears make it a pocket-sized echo of fennec cousins. Under a Wyoming night sky dusted with the Milky Way, a swift fox can hit 30 miles per hour, zigzagging between sagebrush like a ricocheting comet. Less than 6 pounds at adulthood, it lines dens with bison hair, preparing nurseries as soft as feather mattresses. Conservationists once feared the species was headed for oblivion. Now, thanks to reintroduction programs, pups tumble again across prairie dog towns, chasing locusts that glitter like chips of jade in moonlight. Our compass needle keeps twitching. It points us toward the frost again. Not the timber wolf Arctic, but something stranger. An island chain where foxes rival sea otters for shoreline sovereignty. The Arctic fadim, Vulpes lagopus, grows winter fur so thick that each hair is hollow, a silver thermos built by evolution. In summer, the coat morphs to charcoal to blend with the tundra thaw. Some run migration circuits 50 miles wide. Others track polar bears, nibbling leftover seal blubber. Inuit legend states that the fox's footprints sow the aurora across night skies, each step a spark. Watch a bounding Arctic fox in midwinter, and you'll swear that myth holds true. Now the story arcs toward its crescendo, and a final ensemble of canids steps onto the stage, each carrying fragments of wilderness we stand to lose or preserve together. Turn the map to northern Africa and the Middle East, where the golden jackal, Canis aureus, threads ancient ruins like a living hieroglyph. At sunrise near the River Nile, one may see a lone jackal silhouetted against temple colonnades, ears pricked. In dynastic Egypt, The god Anubis wore a jackal's face. Archaeologists debate whether the model species was this golden traveler or a now extinct relative, but the resonance endures. Modern jackals scavenge fish off the banks by day, then form monogamous hunting duos by night, their duet of yips ringing across cultivated fields. Farmers sometimes blame them for poultry losses, yet radio tag studies reveal they spend most nights chasing rodents that chew grain stores. Balance, as ever, teeters on perception. Slip east to Iran's dusty steppe and you'll find the critically endangered Persian desert fox, a subspecies of Rappel's fox, Vulpes ruapelli. Cream-colored fur reflects solar heat. Paws wear fur slippers to walk on scorching sand. Legend has it they drink the moon, because under full lunar glow their eyes shine platinum and they howl as though sipping its light. Data loggers show they survive weeks without liquid water, deriving moisture from insects and seed pods. If resilience were currency, the desert fox would need no coins. Further north across the Caucasus comes the Corsac fox, Vulpes corsac, pale as wheat and so light-footed that local Kazakh herdsmen claim it can run atop snow crust without breaking through. When food dwindles, entire families embark on nomadic treks spanning 200 miles, pups trotting valiantly beside parents in caravans of fluff. In winter gales, these foxes dig communal dens, 10, 15 entrances forming a labyrinth so stable that steppe eagles occasionally nest atop collapsed chambers. Two species sheltering under one roof, an accidental alliance against relentless wind. Crossing into China's high plateaus, we greet the Tibetan fox, Vulpes ferrulata, whose square muzzle seems carved from stone. Internet fame found this fox in a single viral photograph. Eyes half-lidded, expression permanently judgmental, as though unimpressed by human antics. But watch it stalk a plateau pika, and you'll see concentration distilled. Crouch, inch, pounce, success. Families operate in pairs. One adult flushes burrows, the other stands by like a baseball catcher, snagging fleeing rodents with unerring precision. Shepherds appreciate the free pest control, and somewhere in a valley monastery, a prayer flag flutters gratitude on behalf of barley harvests spared. From slopes brushed by prayer flags, we descend to coastal mangroves of Southeast Asia, domain of the crab-eating fox's cousin, the crab-eating dog, or properly the Asiatic jackal locals call chak. It dives shoulder-deep into tidal pools, snapping crustaceans with a crack that echoes through mangrove roots. Children trailing fishermen often spot chalky paw prints etched in mud at dawn. Elders teach them to count tracks and predict tides, a folk calendar written in footprints. And so, as dusk settles over rice paddies alive with frogs, we set our compass to the land of maple leaves and midnight sun, because one final voice has yet to enter the choir. Enter the red fox, Vulpes vulpes, storyteller extraordinaire in every culture from Inuit to Irish. Why include a species so common? Because ubiquity breeds familiarity, and familiarity can fade into invisibility if we cease to look closely. Step into a suburban backyard at 2 a.m. The lawn sprinkler clicks off, and there, a streak of auburn, tail plume fat as a feather duster. Stand quiet and you'll hear the vixen's contact call, a sound halfway between a yelp and a laugh, like someone telling a joke they can barely finish. At just under 15 pounds, the red fox is small enough to squeeze beneath a porch, yet clever enough to memorize hundreds of cachy sites for winter snacks. Arctic research stations report red foxes chasing polar foxes northward, the climate change range shift etched in paw prints on melting permafrost. Head west to Alaska's chain of volcano-borne isles and meet the island fox, Lycaon littoralis, a dwarf cousin of the mainland gray fox. Full-grown adults weigh as little as 4 pounds, about 1/3 of a house cat, and each of California's Channel Islands hosts its own genetically distinct subspecies. Biologists tag them with color-coded ear bling, tracking how these mini pirates raid seabird eggs in spring, nibble prickly pear fruit in summer, and sneak leftovers from campers come fall. Golden eagles almost wiped them out in the 1990s. Swift conservation action, relocating eagles and breeding foxes in captivity, pulled the species from the brink in less than 2 decades. A success story wrapped in a fur coat small enough to cradle in two hands. Glide down the Pacific coast and inland to Mexico's deserts, where the kit fox Vulpes macrotus reigns under starlight. Its ears are satellite dishes 10 centimeters tall, radiators that bleed excess heat into dry night air. Kit foxes mate duet with soft chuckles, then spend daylight hours in dens 20 feet deep, chambers cool as wine cellars. Some populations share dens with burrowing owls. Avian sentinels stand at the entry by day, while foxes patrol at night, a round-the-clock security team built by interspecies diplomacy. At last, we circle back to where our journey began, the open plains of sub-Saharan Africa. Only this time, instead of painted wolves, we seek the bat-eared fox, Odysseon megalotus, whose ears span 5 inches tip to tip, nearly a third of its body length. Those radar dishes detect termites under the soil crust. A single fox can gulp 10,000 insects in one night, its jaw joint specialized for rapid chomp cycles. Watch a bat-eared fox family forage, and you'll see a living metronome. Heads tilt, ears scan, paws scratch, tongues dart. Children adore them because they look like plush toys. Ecologists adore them because they aerate soil, control pests, and keep grasslands humming along. Silhouettes fade, stars emerge, and the chorus we've assembled, painted wolves, dholes, maned wolves, dingoes, coyotes, foxes of every color, raises a collective song. High trills, deep howls, yips, barks, whistles. No orchestra could hope to match the range. As the last echoes bounce off canyon walls, a hush settles. In that hush lies a question only you can answer. So, having walked 5 continents and peered into den after den, what name still reverberates in your chest? Was it the painted wolf's kaleidoscope coat, the dhole's whistle, the maned wolf's popcorn cologne? Maybe the singing dog's alpine area, or the island fox's pocket-sized courage. Whatever image clings to your mind's eye, remember that each of these canids is more than a trivia tidbit. Each is a thread in the living tapestry that blankets our planet. Tug one thread too hard, let a habitat vanish, a disease run rampant, and the pattern warps for every creature, ourselves included. I'd love to hear your voice in this conversation. Drop a comment telling us which wild dog captured your imagination or which fact surprised you most. Do you have coyotes weaving through your neighborhood? Or have you been lucky enough to glimpse a swift fox on a prairie road trip? Share your story. Someone across the country, and maybe across the globe, will read it and feel that spark of connection. If tonight's journey fired up your sense of wonder, consider subscribing and ringing the bell. We dive into new corners of the natural world every single week, and next time we'll venture somewhere colder, darker, and perhaps a little more mysterious. Because out there, just beyond the glow of our porch lights, life keeps inventing itself in colors we haven't even named yet. Until that next adventure, this is Mike and the entire Animal Prime crew, thanking you for lending your ears, hearts, and curiosity. Keep your eyes on the horizon, keep your footprint gentle, and remember, the wild is never really far away. It's simply waiting for us to notice. Good night, fellow explorers, and I'll see you on the trail.